Hey guys, I'm Dr. Jesse Riley, owner and head clinician at Modern Movement Clinic here in Golden, Colorado. We're right off of I-70 in the kind of like that Applewood area. Um, we've been open now for, gosh, probably like going on 5 years. I've been practicing for about 10. So I've got to know Katie and Andrew for since I've moved here. So they've trusted me with working on a lot of their running athletes and some of their field and sport athletes. This is why I'm kind of putting together this compilation of videos um, for them for the soccer team. How I operate, we operate a little bit differently than a lot of other PT or rehab style clinics. The reason I say that is we put a real big emphasis on functionality and functional movement biomechanics and making it accessible and very understandable in terms of what's going on, why is it going on, and then collaborating on with you guys of what are we going to do about it. We can work in a rehab standpoint. I even say that I work pretty well in a performance standpoint. So let's say that something keeps coming up, or maybe we hit a roadblock in training, we can work in any facet with that. The reason why is, again, predicated on a lot of our examination process and what we find. So I'm always going to make it easy to figure out mobility things that we need to do, stability and strength things that need to happen. And then again, from a functional movement perspective, I use an iPad that helps us reiterate like, okay, this is happening. This is why it's happening. Here's what we got to do about it. So I always feel like a lot of people walk out saying this is one of the more thorough examinations I've ever had. And I like to pride myself on that. So what you're about to see is a series of videos that kind of pertain to the handout here that you got that talks about the most common soccer injuries. I was a big soccer athlete myself growing up from like childhood into early stages of college. And so I'm kind of very familiar with soccer athletes and the multi-directional demands that it has. So we're going to break these up into some mobility or tissue intervention things that you can do, all the way into some stability and rehab functional movement oriented things you can do. Could be addressed in terms of prep work, like it's marketed into the paper, or if you're having any hang up with any of the more common soccer injuries. It's a good place to start. Obviously, if there's ever any like specific questions or if you guys want to chat, there's a free 15-minute consultation QR code at the bottom. I love talking with you guys, especially talking shop as it applies with functional movement because I'm just a nerd about this stuff. So feel free to tap into that and look forward to meeting you guys. All right, so I want to show you guys how to, sometimes people want to roll out or mobilize the hips. I'm going to show you guys on this video how to do that. I'm just going to take a lacrosse ball here. So this would be probably more of the advanced progression, if you will. Main reason being is it's just going to add a lot more pressure than the second video that I'm going to show you of that, of the same thing. It's going to be used against a wall or a door, just a lot lighter in terms of pressure on the area. Where you're going to be doing this at is mainly, if I think about where my side pocket is, I'm going to go just behind that, and it's going to kind of be right in this area here along my hips, okay? Main reason I sometimes give this to people is more about sometimes just pain mitigation. It's not breaking up scar tissue, it's not changing the alignment of anything, it's just trying to knock down some pain for some people. It's a nice way of maybe doing a warm-up to kind of warm up the hips and loosen them up. Or another way to think about it too is sometimes what we call a movement snack. So something you can do throughout the course of the day. If you feel like your hips tend to get painful, you can also do this in low back as well, which I'll show in the second portion. So I'm just going to take the ball, I'm going to sit on that area, and I'm just going to go right along that area of where I referred to when I was on my knees there. And so I may spend like 1 to 3 minutes, that sort of thing here. If I wanted to make it a little bit more intense, I could always cross my leg like so over the other one and do that as well. Okay. Again, 1 to 3 minutes. You can focus on both sides. Let's jump to another version of this will be up against a wall. It's just a lot less pressure, and you guys might find that a little bit more easier to do as well. All right, so a dialed back version of this is I'm gonna put the ball up against in between me and the door here. Same thing, I'm just gonna roll up and down or side to side and kind of get into this area of the hip, okay? Again, I can use this for low back as well. I'll just find my spine and go on either side of that, and I can do the same thing, again, a couple minutes at a time. So I'm here, and it's really as easy as this. The amount of time that I took to make this video would be longer than the amount of time it would take to just do this drill here. So put it in practice. If you want to loosen up the hips, it's a nice way to kind of help open those up a little bit. Again, sometimes people use it for pain mitigation purposes. I think it's better to know what it's not doing, so it's not changing any orientation, it's not breaking up scar tissue, and it's certainly not going to be the only solution to your pain. You have to move to. Do it with the quad. I'm going to show you first is I'm actually going to lay on the foam roller with my torso facing down, and I'm going to work along my quad here, okay? So I usually go off to the side, and I let one knee kind of go out to the side. That allows me to hinge a little bit easier. And I'm just going to use my hands to go up and down. Okay, and I can twist my body to hit different areas of my quad. I'm only going to do this again for a couple minutes at a time. It doesn't need to be anything super extensive here. We're just trying to get the tissues to relax. That allows us to mitigate some of the pain that's involved at the knee. Okay? So again, I can twist my body to hit different spots. If I want to, I can even rotate some more. That gets closer to IT band. If I'm being honest with you, if you guys are foam rolling specifically your IT band, you're kind of wasting your time a little bit. So I'm hitting more of like what we would call lateral part of my quad, okay? The reason why it's a waste of time mainly is your IT band is actually connective tissue, and most of the time you're having not much of an appreciable change when you're foam rolling your IT band as what you would be if you're hitting your quad muscles, okay? Next part we're gonna do is calf. So my calf is all along this backside part, right behind my shin. I'm gonna take one foot, place it over, the other one can be out to the side here, and I'm gonna use my hands to kind of push my butt up. And again, I'm just sliding toward and away to work on different parts of my calf. Okay. You may find some hot spots maybe on one side compared to the other side. Totally fine. You're gonna hit both sides if you feel like it is part of an issue with both knees. Okay? The next thing I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna stand up. We're gonna go over to this bench here. And what we call this is we call this mulligan technique with our knee. And the reason why I like this is it tends to help desensitize the trigger at our knee. So most of the time when we bend our knee, when we have patellofemoral pain, that's usually what sets it off, okay? So one way to kind of work on that is I'm actually gonna grab right below where the patellar tendon is. And you can kind of see I'm compressing the tissue here. You're gonna first try to turn your knee out and see, does that make it feel better? Okay, if not, then what I want you to try is twisting in. So it takes a little bit of trial and error and experiment, but you may find that one of these makes the pain feel less. This is a good thing. All I need you to do from that is you're going to work in that range, going back and forth. You can kind of see how I'm swooping in a circle. The reason why I'm doing this is while we're playing tennis, our knee never just works in this particular range of motion. We're moving laterally quite a bit too. And so because of that, this allows us to, again, condition the tissues to not be as triggered when we're bending the knee. For something like this, you may be doing this like 20 times. I may do 10 in one direction, 10 in the other direction, or maybe 10 forward, maybe 10 out to the side, or 10 in. There's a couple different ways you can divvy that up compared to the foam roller with being more time-based, again, a couple minutes at a time there. Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you is we're going to use a heavy resistance band that you might find at a gym, and then you can work on your ankle range of motion also. So like what I was saying is you're probably going to find something like this at a gym. It's called a heavy resistance band. They're just a thicker band. You may have used them for helping with pull-ups, to assist you in pull-ups. You're going to wrap that around something pretty sturdy, whether it be a squat rack rig or maybe a cable machine, anything that's going to be pretty set in place. You're going to loop that through like you see here. And then what you're going to do is I'm going to step forward so they have quite a bit of tension involved there. And I can do that same thing that I was doing with the mulligan technique with my knee. I'm just going to drive my knee forward and back. And I may hold for 3 to 5 seconds and back out of that. And again, I can do that in many different angles here. Now the reason why I'm doing this is this helps with increasing what's called ankle dorsiflexion. So this movement here is called ankle dorsiflexion. One of the reasons why we tend to get pain at the knee, especially on the front side, is sometimes we have a limitation there at the ankle, whether that be from like previous ankle sprains or whatever it may be. There's a little lack of mobility there. This allows us to help get a little bit more out of that. So again, for something like this, I would consider this more of a rep-based thing, where I'm doing about 10 to 15 reps. Again, in multiple different angles, because that is what tennis is going to throw at you. And you can hold that for 3 to 5 seconds. And if we do this enough with consistency, it should help increase your ankle range of motion. With the side bridge, where if it's just the side bridge, the setup is I've got my ankle in line with my hip in line with my shoulder, and then this elbow is in line with this shoulder here, okay? A lot of people sometimes get a little droopy here, so I always say push the ground away from you. That makes a nice little triangle right here, okay? What we do here with kind of the lower part of the body is it's almost like we're getting up out of a chair. And so it's a combination of coming up and forward, because a lot of people tend to just do this. I need you to come forward too, so it looks more like this. Boom. Okay? And then from here, this is the side bridge position. There's a nice little line from here all the way down, and I'm just holding that. Okay? If I wanted to make it a little bit harder, I could just take my top leg and go here. There's another video where I sometimes raise that top leg up just to get a little bit more hip action. You could have a band in between your knees. You could take top leg and go out in front of you like so. You can have a weight overhead. There's so many different things you could do with this. It's just a nice, easy movement that you could add a lot more things on just to make it a little bit more difficult, but great exercise. All right, with the Copenhagen plank, we want to make sure that we're kind of setting up initially up top here, kind of like a side plank. So my elbow is underneath my shoulder. And then as far as the Copenhagen process goes, there's two different types. There's what's called long lever, which just means my knee's extended. And then there's one that's short lever that I'll show you at the end here. And so with the long lever, there's a couple different progressions with this too. I would say if we're starting out, I've got my bottom knee bent like so, and I'm just holding that side plank. The big difference with all of these movements though is my top leg is really pushing down pretty hard into that bench, okay? So I'm trying to have most of my support on that top leg, okay? The second kind of progression of that is I go into a full side plank, And then I can lift the leg and go into what is the true definition of a Copenhagen plank. So I can hold here. I can also do reps. Okay, that is the long lever. Short lever is just your knee is bent. So I'm more here, okay? So you can kind of see that my knee on the inside is the part that is going to be holding me up. So I'll set up again, and again, I'm here. So hips are extended out. I've got that bottom knee bent to help me support. I can go out with leg extended, and then I can also do this, okay? Or I can again do reps, okay? You're gonna feel most of this kind of in your groin area, or sometimes kind of in the inner thigh, okay? Again, you can do reps. If you want to, or you can get kind of fancy and take your bottom leg and move it in front too.
With glute bridge marching, essentially this is just a nice progression going from a regular glute bridge or traditional glute bridge into a single leg glute bridge. We're just taking the stability that's involved and now putting it all onto one leg, but not all at one time through the entire rep. So here you see I go up into glute bridge. I'll start by just going with one leg, staying in that kind of 90-degree angle, and I bring that up towards me. It takes about 3 to 5 seconds. It's really kind of depends on how you want to program it. But again, it's just a nice way of transitioning from 2 feet in a glute bridge to a single leg glute bridge. And then here you'll just see me elevate my feet up onto a surface, and now we're just, again, having a greater angle of degree here. One of the other cues you notice is that I breathe out and try to flatten my rib cage down before I come up. This helps take things out of the low back, where we can sometimes get a little bit extra extension as we come up.
Whenever you're ready.
All right, with the barbell single leg calf raise, I'm going to rack the bar on my back just like I would with a back squat. Then I'm going to put my resting foot on either a box or some stable surface about knee height. And from here, everything else is just like what you would with a single leg calf raise. I'm driving through my big toe and my pinky toe straight up and just maintaining an upright posture. Okay, you'll see a little bit better angle here coming up on the remaining tall cue right here. Okay.